Hello and welcome to the topic tumor lysis syndrome in the hematology module. By the end of this topic, you should be able to define tumor lysis syndrome, explain the pathophysiology of this syndrome, outline the causes and classification of tumor lysis syndrome, outline the investigations done for tumor lysis syndrome, discuss the principles of management, and discuss the complications and prognosis of tumor lysis syndrome. Let's get started. Tumor lysis syndrome refers to the metabolic disturbances that occur when large numbers of neoplastic cells are killed rapidly, leading to the releases of intracellular ions and metabolic byproducts into the systemic circulation. It is an oncologic emergency. In a normal person, the kidneys match renal excretion to intake of water and electrolytes to regulate the osmolality and volume of body fluids. What is abnormal about this condition is that the massive tumor cell lysis results in the release of large amounts of potassium, phosphate, and uric acid, deposition of uric acid and calcium phosphate crystals in the renal tubules, which may lead to acute renal failure, which is often exacerbated by concomitant intravascular volume depletion. Clinically, the syndrome is characterized by rapid development of hyperuricemia, hyperkalemia, hyperphosphatemia, hypocalcemia, and acute kidney injury. Hyperkalemia is often the earliest lab manifestation. Hyperkalemia and hyperphosphatemia result directly from rapid cell lysis. Hypocalcemia is a consequence of acute hyperphosphatemia with subsequent precipitation of calcium phosphate in soft tissues. In acute kidney injury, decreased calcitriol levels also cause hypocalcemia. The causes of tumor lysis syndrome can be due to administration of radiation therapy, corticosteroids, hormonal agents, biologic response modifiers, monoclonal antibodies, intrathecal administration of chemotherapy, and chemoembolization. Patients at highest risk are those with bulky, rapidly proliferating tumors that are sensitive to treatment, and you can refer this to the image of tumor lysis syndrome for further explanation. Patients at highest risk are those with bulky, rapidly proliferating tumors that are sensitive to treatment. Renal insufficiency prior to therapy is also one of the reasons that increase risk for tumor lysis syndrome. Rare clinical situations such as pregnancy, fever, general anesthesia in patients with tumors can also lead to tumor lysis syndrome, and some cases even happen spontaneously. Cairo and Bishop formulated a commonly used classification system for tumor lysis syndrome, which classifies this syndrome into clinical tumor lysis syndrome and lab tumor lysis syndrome. The clinical tumor lysis syndrome requires the presence of lab tumor lysis syndrome in addition to evidence of renal, cardiac, and neurologic dysfunction. The Cairo-Bishop classification requires an increase in electrolyte markers to occur between 3 days before and 7 days after initiation of chemotherapy, with 2 markers being abnormal within a 24-hour period. Clinical manifestations may develop prior to the initiation of chemotherapy or more commonly within 72 hours after administration of cytotoxic therapy. Symptoms include abdominal pain and distension, urinary symptoms comprising painful urination, flank pain and bloody urine, hypocalcemic symptoms comprising anorexia, vomiting, cramps, seizures, spasms and altered mental status, hyperkalemia symptoms such as weakness and paralysis, and other manifestations include lethargy, edema, syncope, and even sudden death. Next, we will talk about the signs. Severe hypocalcemia can cause paresthesia and tetany with positive Chvostek and Trazose sign, anxiety, carpal tunnel syndrome, carpal and pedal spasms, bronchospasms, seizures, and cardiac arrest. The deposition of calcium phosphate in various tissues may also be responsible for pruritus, gangrenous changes of the skin, iritis, and arthritis. Uremia, on the other hand, can cause fatigue, weakness, malaise, nausea, vomiting, anorexia, metallic taste in the tongue, hiccups, neuromuscular irritability, difficulty concentrating, restless legs, and ecchymosis. Patients can also present with features of volume overload such as dyspnea, crepitations, edema, hypertension, and congestive heart failure. To help with the diagnosis of tumor lysis syndrome, blood investigations should be done to look for lactate dehydrogenase levels. An elevated pre-treatment LDH level, which correlates with high tumor volume, is a strong prognostic indicator for developing clinically significant complications of therapy. LDH should be checked at least on diagnosis and prior to treatment. Most patients with tumor lysis syndrome have lab derangements in LDH, potassium, phosphate, calcium, and uric acid, as well as abnormal renal functions occurring 1 to 3 days after chemotherapy initiation. Hyperkalemia is often the first life-threatening abnormality. Close monitoring of urine output to assess adequacy of hydration and for signs of oliguric renal failure is important. Imaging studies such as radiographic of the chest is to determine the presence of a large tumor, for example, mediastinal mass, ultrasonography or computed tomography scan of the abdomen and retroperitoneum immediately if renal failure or mass lesions in the abdomen are present. Do note that intravenous contrast may be contraindicated in a patient with renal insufficiency. Frequent cardiac assessment using ECG or continuous cardiac monitoring is necessary to monitor ECG changes, which may herald a lethal arrhythmia caused by potassium and calcium disturbances. Now, this is important especially in high-risk patients. Lab monitoring for blood urea nitrogen, LDH, creatinine, phosphate, uric acid and calcium levels should be done prior to therapy and for 48 to 72 hours after treatment induction. Follow measurements at least 3 times per day or more often if evidence of tumor lysis syndrome develops. Principles of management are identification of high-risk patients with initiation of preventive therapy, early recognition of metabolic and renal complications, where the National Comprehensive Cancer Network advises that tumor lysis syndrome is best managed if it is anticipated and treatment is started before initiation of chemotherapy. Lastly, prompt administration of supportive care, including hemodialysis, needs to be initiated if indicated. The management for patients with tumor lysis syndrome are of many aspects. First would be restriction of intake of foods that contain high levels of potassium, phosphorus, or uric acid and should be implied in patients with high risk for tumor lysis syndrome. Secondly, surveillance with lab monitoring and careful clinical observation as well as cardiac studies include baseline ECG with follow-up studies or continuous cardiac monitoring during treatment, renal surveillance and fluid status which include baseline and daily weights, regular vital sign checks, and frequent measurements of both fluid intake and urine output are also equally important. Some patients may need to be placed on dialysis prior to the initiation of therapy if necessary. Hyperuricemia can be controlled with allopurinol, resburicase, and febuxostat. Hydration, diuresis, and urine alkalinization are essential. For hyperkalemia, the management are restrict dietary potassium, remove potassium from intravenous fluids, in IV infusion of glucose plus insulin, IV calcium gluconate, and IV hydration with alkaline fluid. For hyperphosphatemia and hypocalcemia, it should be treated with oral phosphate binders and the same solution of glucose plus insulin used for the control of hyperkalemia. Hyperphosphatemia may lead to hypocalcemia, which usually resolves as phosphate levels are corrected. And lastly, if the previously described interventions fail, consider initiation of dialysis. Acute complications are an uremia and oliguric renal failure due to tubule precipitation of uric acid, calcium phosphate or hypoxanthine, severe electrolyte disturbances such as hyperkalemia and hypocalcemia, predisposed patients to cardiac arrhythmia and seizures, and iatrogenic complications such as pulmonary edema from overly vigorous hydration or metabolic alkalosis from excess exogenous administration of bicarbonate. And these can occur and are also life-threatening if not immediately addressed. Early recognition of signs and symptoms of patients at risk for tumor lysis syndrome include identification of abnormal clinical and lab values, which can lead to successful prevention of the otherwise life-threatening complications of the condition. So in summary, tumor lysis syndrome is an oncologic emergency which refers to the metabolic disturbances that occur when large numbers of neoplastic cells are killed rapidly. This happens because there is massive tumor cell lysis resulting in the release of large amounts of potassium, phosphate, and uric acid, which lead to severe metabolic disturbances and acute renal failure. The occurrence can be due to administration of radiation therapy, corticosteroids, hormonal agents, biologic response modifiers, monoclonal antibodies, intrathecal administration of chemotherapy, and chemoembolization. The signs and symptoms include hyperuricemia, hyperkalemia, hyperphosphatemia, hypocalcemia, and acute kidney injury. Do note that patients should have lab monitoring, which are blood urea and nitrogen, creatinine, phosphate, uric acid, LDH and calcium levels prior to therapy and for 48 to 72 hours after treatment induction. Follow the measurements at least 3 times per day or more if evidence of tumor lysis syndrome develops. Lastly, the main principles of management are identification of high-risk patients with initiation of preventive therapy and early recognition of metabolic and renal complications and the prompt administration of supportive care including hemodialysis. We have come to the end of this topic. Thank you.